Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome to this month's AVA. Anthony will not be joining us as unfortunately or fortunately he's caught up in a meeting. I do, however, have a couple of colleagues online. Eric, who I'm sure you've met from other AVAs and are familiar with his in-depth knowledge of most of the Autodesk product line. And of course, Nathan Eliasson, who will be helping out with any questions. So to recap, last month Nathan gave us an excellent walkthrough of the out-of-the-box NPI process, showing us how we can automate this sometimes complex process, which with just a few workspaces and a couple of interesting concepts. You can find this video on our YouTube channel. Just search for KETIV and Fusion Lifecycle. For those of you that have an older Fusion Lifecycle tenant, you might not have all the bells and whistles that come with the current implementation. So over the next couple of months, we're going to show you how to build the NPI solution using workspaces that you may or may not already have, but perhaps are not connected, or scripts are not upgraded, or there may be some other problem with them. These workspaces are typically products, tasks, and project task templating. So today I will be talking about task templating. What is it? How does it work? And more importantly, how is it implemented? But before I get started, I'd just like to remind you that these webinars occur on the last Tuesday of each month at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. They're all free because we believe in sharing knowledge. But we'd also appreciate your feedback on the content and delivery of these AVA sessions, so that we can then tailor them to provide you with the knowledge and expertise you need to get the most out of these products. I'd also like to point you to our new revamped website at ketiv.com, where you'll find a lot of interesting use cases and information about KETIV, about up-and-coming AVAs, Autodesk Virtual Academies, and just information about Autodesk products to help you get on and be successful. Okay, so without further ado, let's take a closer look at templates in Fusion Lifecycle. So I'm going to talk about task templates and how they're connected, creating task templates and assigning tasks, and automating task generation. So first off, what is task templating? What is it all about? Well, as you know, NPI is a collaborative activity that requires coordination between teams, and task templating is a great way to perform repeatable activities for each new product development process. This technique allows us to distribute and coordinate the work to those that will be actually doing it. So as we walk through the workflow like that, we're generating tasks. These tasks are sent out to team leaders that then have the possibility to actually perform the task themselves or delegate it to somebody else. So the animation might not be great, but I think it shows you that the team leaders are receiving the task and they can distribute them. If they delegate to these tasks, then those delegates will receive emails. So as the tasks are complete, their status is fed back up into the process, and this helps management with giving them a view of an overall view of each task status, but also areas that are holding up the process, and helps them be proactive in getting those phases through the gates on time. So how are they connected? So they're connected through a combination of things. We'll take a look at linking pick lists, relationships, and the actual workflow, which does most of the work using scripts, action scripts, validation, and condition scripts. So here we have the product workspace. Now the product workspace has that workflow that we see down below, and it is connected to a task template. Now this task template is another workspace that has some items in there, and it's connected via a linking pick list. And on this task template workspace, we have a grid. And in the grid, this is where we store the tasks that we're going to create based on the workflow state name. So if we are in the concept phase or going into concept, we will generate a couple of tasks called customer requirements and industrial design review. And then moving on down to approve final requirements definition, we'll create another task called industrial design review. So that's how it works in terms of connecting the grid up with the workflow process. And this is all done via a workflow action script called product workflow actions. I won't be going too much into the script because it's we can do that on another time, but they should be made available to you. You can compare them, have a look at them, and use them in the in this process. What the script does, oh, gone too fast. What the script actually does is create the task in the task workspace, and then put that task back into the product workspace under tasks and deliverables, which is the project management tab. So this will give you a kind of like a Gantt chart, an overall view of the task status. So let's have a look at workflow validations. On the task and deliverables in the products workspace, we'll have a kind of like visualization of each task. We have their status, complete or open. And what the validation script does is look at the status of each task. And if you want to move through the workflow from requirements definition to development, if one of those tasks is still open, the validation script will not allow you to move through the workflow or go to the next state. So it forces tasks to be complete before we can move on. So we have a number of defined tasks for each phase gate of the workflow process. So the workflow conditions are usually associated with the approval boards. Now this allows approvers to approve each state, allows them to go back and resets the approval status, and it moves the approvers into the has approved column there. Now that's handled by the precondition script, product workflow conditions, but what actually does the work of moving those approvers over to has approved is also contained in the product workflow actions. So let's go into the workspace and have a look at how we can set that up. So if we go into administration, workspace manager, and we go down and find the products workspace. Now here we're going to set up a linking pick list to the task template down here. So I go into item details, and I'm going to add a field, and I'm going to call that task template. It is a pick list, and I'm going to create a new pick list. Now we're pointing it at a workspace, so by convention we normally prefix the name of the pick list with a WS in brackets. And select list of records from a workspace. And we're going to choose the workspace task template. No filtering for the moment, and we'll save that. Forgot the display width. I'll just give that a 100. I give it a 100 because it'll take the I can't remember the name. So anyway, we'll save that and move that over to the item details field and save the layout. So let's have a look at products. So these are older ones. They have they already have been in some sort of state in the workflow, but there's no task template here. So let's go ahead and create a new one. My greatest invention. And here we have the task template. Now we have a number of items here that are defined in the task template. So I'm just going to select industrial machinery and products. I'm also going to set approvers down here so that I can move through the approval process. I'll set my name for all of them. I'm sure you remember this from last month's session with Nathan. And I don't need anything else down there, so I can save that. Well, I need to change the classification. And we should be good to go. Let's see, we've got some errors down here. Nothing is ever as smooth as you want. Okay, so that's not working. So let's go back to something that's already been created, and it's in the concept phase. So we'll just edit that, and I'll select the template here. And Nathan, you may have to go through and push this workflow through. Okay. Okay, so save that. Okay, so we are hooked up to the task template in Workspace, which is in reference. And here you can see industrial machinery and products. And as per the presentation, we have the task template, which is the grid tab, which defines all our tasks and when and where we should create them, at what workflow state name, and where do we put them. We can actually put them in a number of different workspaces if we define them here, but for here we're just defining workspace tasks. So now we need to set up the relationship between the products and the task template for the project management tab. So this is a relationship. So if we go down to products, down here we have workspace relationships. We can add a new relationship, and project management tab, allow items from tasks. Not task template, but tasks. And save that. Now the next thing we need to do is to set up those action, validation, and condition scripts in the workflow editor. Now if you remember from your training, if you've done training, you go into the workflow and edit the transitions to actually put these condition scripts and validation and action scripts on the transition itself. So here, we don't really need a condition script on this initiate transition because it's the first one. It's usually the owner that will have permission to do this. So we're going to put an action script on this to create our tasks. So it's product workflow actions. Okay, so that'll create a couple of tasks there. We have the product workflow conditions already defined and product workflow actions. So that's just for the approval board. And as we move through here, we need to add some conditions. So product workflow conditions and product workflow actions. And we are also going to use the validation as well, which is the project phase validation. Notifications will be sent to those who can take part in the approval process and display in their outstanding work. But once the task is created, that's where the actual notification will be going out, not from here. This is usually just for the approval process. So go down here to product workflow actions. And you need to do this for each of the transitions that we need to control. So we don't have anything there, so I'll just put that on there. We need the validation script in there as well. And finally on that one. Okay. That's basically all we need to set up the task templating, apart from setting these up here, which is a relatively simple task. You define the task type. This should be a drop-down list. So let's add another one. Yeah, drop-down list, which will give you some predefined task types. The start date is, for example, this is 32 days from today, and it has a duration of 2 days. This is 30 days from today, 60 days from today, 55 days from today. So when the task is created, the owner will be myself, and I can assign immediately a reviewer, which will be Nathan and Jorge, with a task description as well. But if I didn't put anything here, I would need to go in as an owner and assign that task either to myself or to somebody else. But for here, I can do it automatically. So normally that's all you need to set up task templating. If we go into it and have a look. So we already have something here on task and deliverables. I think that was probably created when this was created. I don't have permission to do that, so it's probably Nathan who has that. So let's see if I got edit rights to change this. Save that. Okay, so now I have some workflow actions available to me. And I'm going to go down to approve concept And this should generate another couple of tasks. And if I look in tasks and deliverables, I have another 2 tasks that have just been created. So there you go. It's quite easy, quite simple. The only complex things are the scripts, which, like I said, will be available to you. So I think next week we'll probably go into the approval process, which is a little bit more complex. And I'll show you a different way. I think at the moment it's driven by scripts entirely, but there's a new there's some new concepts available that dispense with the condition scripts. Although we still keep the validation and the action script, we can just dispense with the condition script and have the system look directly at the approvers. Okay, so let's move on to any questions. Nathan, Eric, do we have anybody with any questions?
Hi, James. At this point, we don't have any questions in our queue.
Okay.
So I think at this point, we want to thank all of you for attending our presentation today. And as James mentioned, we walked you through the process of creating your tasks and having them created for you automatically by the template. So next month, we hope you join us. It'll be the last Tuesday of September. And again, in the next one, we're going to cover the whole approval process, and we're going to cover how you can set that up to be the way that you need it based on your needs at your company. And then we'll also look at the new ways that we can do the condition scripts, or I'm sorry, the conditions versus having to do it via scripts, which we had to do in the past. So thank you, James, for preparing this for today. And we appreciate all of you joining us. Anything else from your side, James?
No, just thanking everybody for joining the session, and hope to see you next month.
Thanks, everyone.